You pulled away, and now she can't stop thinking about you. At first, she told herself she didn't care. She thought she had all the power. But now, something feels different. She expected you to chase, but instead, you vanished. That's when doubt creeps in. That's when she starts overthinking everything. That's when she realizes you were never as attached as she thought. So what happens next? Does she come back? Does she start chasing? Stay with me, because what you do next changes everything. 1. The silent shift that changes everything. Most people don't understand the true power of their absence. See, when you were always there, texting, calling, making plans, she never had to wonder about you. She never had to second-guess where she stood with you. She never had to miss you. You were always available and predictable. But here's the harsh reality. Predictability is the killer of attraction. The moment you pull away, everything shifts. At first, she doesn't even notice. Oh, he must be busy. He's probably just distracted. He'll text me later like he always does. So she doesn't think much of it. She goes about her day, assuming nothing has changed. But then a few hours pass. Then an entire day, maybe even 2, and suddenly something feels off. She checks her phone. No messages, no missed calls, no notifications from you. That's when the shift begins. That's when she realizes something is different. At first, she convinces herself she doesn't care. He's just busy. Maybe he's out with friends. It's no big deal. But then, another day passes. She picks up her phone, expecting a message. Still nothing. And now she can't ignore it anymore. A thought creeps into her mind. Why hasn't he texted? Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest in me? And the moment she starts wondering about you, you've already won. 2. Why women always notice when you pull away. It doesn't matter how independent she is. It doesn't matter how busy her life seems. It doesn't even matter if she's surrounded by other people. She always notices when you pull away, but she won't show it at first. She'll pretend she doesn't care. She'll post on social media, laughing, having fun, acting unbothered. She'll hang out with friends, keep herself distracted. She'll even tell herself she doesn't need you. But inside, she's watching. She's waiting. She expects you to break first, to check in, to ask how she's doing, to reassure her that you still care. Because that's what most people do. Most people can't handle the silence. They panic, overthinking. What if she thinks I don't care? Maybe she's waiting for me to text first. I should just send a quick message. And the second they reach out first, the power shifts back. Because now she knows she still has you. But when you don't reach out, when you stay silent, everything changes. Now she's not just noticing your absence. She's starting to feel it. She might try to ignore it. She might try to distract herself. Deep down, she's wondering, why hasn't he reached out? Did I mess up? Is he talking to someone else? And suddenly, the same person who was once so sure of herself is now doubting everything. 3. The psychology of missing someone. Have you ever wondered why we only appreciate something once it's gone? It's simple. The human brain values uncertainty. When something is always available, we don't appreciate it. We take it for granted, assuming it will always be there. But the second it disappears, everything changes. When you were constantly chasing her, she never had to think about you. She never had to miss you. She never had to wonder if she was losing you. But now, she has no choice. Your absence creates space, and that space forces her mind to fill in the gaps. At first, she shrugs it off. She tells herself she's fine. She distracts herself. But then, a random song plays, and she thinks of you. A certain smell reminds her of the last time she saw you. Conversation with a friend brings up your name. And now, she feels it. The pull, the curiosity, the growing tension in her mind. The best part is that she doesn't even realize it's happening. Her emotions are reigniting, her mind is bringing you back into focus, and now she can't stop thinking about you. 4. When she starts watching you from a distance. Here's where things get interesting. She won't reach out right away. Why? Because she doesn't want to look vulnerable. She doesn't want to admit she misses you. So instead, she watches. She starts checking your social media, noticing when you're online, seeing who you're interacting with. The more she watches, the more she starts overthinking. Who is he talking to? Why does he seem so unbothered? Is he moving on? She won't text you, she won't say anything. But trust me, she's thinking about you non-stop. She might start posting things to get your attention. Maybe a picture that reminds you of her. Maybe a song lyric that sounds personal. Maybe a story that hints at what she's feeling. It seems like everything changes when you stay silent. If you ignore the situation, that's when she starts to panic. 5. What happens when you stay silent? Most people fail at this stage. They get a few days into no contact and they break. They convince themselves she's waiting for them to reach out first, so they send a quick message like, "Hey, how have you been?" And just like that, they lose the power. Now she knows she still has their attention, but if you stay silent, if you hold your ground, that's when things truly begin to change. She starts feeling regret. She wonders if she underestimated you. She questions whether she made the wrong choice. She realizes you're not like others, and that's when she begins to make the first move. She might like an old post. She might reply to your story. She might find an excuse to text you. But no matter what, she will find a way to test the waters, because now she's the one chasing. 6. The emotional roller coaster begins. At first, she brushes it off, telling herself, "Oh, he'll come back. He always does." She convinces herself she's in control, that she made the right decision by distancing herself. But as time goes on, something feels off. She expected you to reach out first. She thought you'd be the one trying harder, but instead, there's silence. And that's when it begins, the emotional roller coaster she never saw coming. At first, she rationalizes it. He's probably just busy. Maybe he needs space. That's normal. He'll definitely reach out soon. But as the days turn into weeks and she sees no effort from you, her confidence starts to crack. She begins questioning herself. Did I push him away too far? Did he find someone else? Has he completely moved on? The confusion turns into frustration. Why? Because for the first time, she's not the one in control. She's not used to being the one left wondering. She's not used to feeling uncertain. She's not used to losing someone who was once so available. And this is when the panic sets in. 7. The moment she starts testing. Most people won't admit they miss someone. Why? Because pride is powerful. No one wants to be the first to fold. No one wants to feel vulnerable. So instead of reaching out directly, she tests you. Here's what that looks like. She suddenly starts liking your old posts. She posts indirect quotes or stories that seem aimed at you. She sends a random text like, "Hey, do you still have that jacket I left at your place?" She might even try to bump into you, acting like it's by chance. But here's the key. None of this is accidental. She wants to see if you'll take the bait. Most people fail this test. The moment she throws out a breadcrumb, they jump. They reply too fast, over-explain or get excited thinking this means she wants them back. And in that moment, she wins, because now she knows she still has you. But if you ignore her tests, if you don't react the way she expects, that's when the real shift begins. 8. The realization that hits her hard. Something starts to change inside her. The longer you remain distant, the louder her thoughts get. She replays past conversations. She questions her choices. She wonders if she made a mistake. Then, the biggest realization hits her. You actually pulled away. At first, she thought you were playing a game. She assumed you were waiting for the right moment to come back. But as time passes, she starts to understand this isn't a game. You actually detached. And that's when her entire perception of you shifts. Now, she doesn't see you as the guy who's always there. She doesn't see you as predictable. She doesn't see you as someone who needs her validation. Instead, she sees you as someone she's losing. And women tend to chase what they feel they are losing. 9. The fear of losing you sets. This is the phase most people never get to see. Why? Because they never give enough time for the woman to feel it. Most people, the moment they sense her pulling away, start chasing harder. They overtext, they over-explain, they try to clarify their feelings. But if you resist that urge, if you actually stay detached, that's when something powerful happens. She starts fearing that she lost something valuable. At first, it's just an annoying thought. Maybe he's just being stubborn. But then it turns into frustration. Why isn't he texting me back? And soon it turns into real fear. Wait, is he actually done with me? Fear is a powerful motivator. When she feels like she's losing something rare, she'll do whatever it takes to get it back. 10. The power of staying unavailable. This is where most people mess up. The second she reaches back out, they give in. They reply instantly. They tell her they missed her and act like nothing happened. Just like that, she wins, because now she knows she never truly lost you. But if you remain unavailable, if you don't jump back in at the first sign of interest, everything shifts. She starts working harder. She starts putting in effort. She starts proving herself to you. Suddenly, she's the one who's unsure. She's the one who's afraid you might be gone. She's the one who realizes she wants you more than she thought. 11. The subconscious shift in her mind. Something is happening inside her, and she doesn't even realize it yet. At first, she only thought about you occasionally. She figured it was just a temporary feeling that would pass. But the more time that goes by, the more frequently you invade her thoughts. She wakes up in the morning, scrolling her phone, wondering if you've texted. She goes about her day, seeing reminders of you everywhere. She's out with friends, laughing at a joke, but something feels off. It's not intentional, it's psychological. See, when someone gets used to your presence, they mentally categorize you in their mind. You're there when they need you. But when you pull away, when you remove yourself completely, that entire mental framework collapses. Now she feels the void, and that void forces her to question everything. Was he actually the one pulling the strings this whole time? Was he stronger than I thought? Did I completely misread this situation? And the moment she starts doubting herself, that's when the attachment grows stronger. Because now, you've become a mystery, and mysteries are irresistible. 12. When she starts overcompensating. Now she's in a strange place. Her pride won't let her admit she's missing you, but her emotions betray her. So she starts overcompensating. She might suddenly become more active on social media, posting more selfies, going out more, acting like she's having the time of her life. She might start talking to other people, even if she's not that interested. She might go out of her way to appear unbothered whenever you're around. Here's the key. All of this is for you to see. She wants you to notice. She wants to trigger a reaction. She wants to force you to come back. And if you do, if you text her because you saw her out with someone new, if you break your silence because her posts made you jealous, she wins. Because now she knows she still controls your emotions. But if you stay detached, if you refuse to engage, that's when things start to spiral for her. 13. The moment she finally breaks. No matter how much she fights it, every person has a breaking point. At some point, the frustration turns into actual longing. Here's the truth. People don't miss you when you're still there, begging for them. They miss you when you're completely gone. And if you've stayed silent long enough, if you've truly disappeared from her world, she will eventually break. For some, it happens in a few weeks. For others, it may take months. But eventually, she'll find a way to reach out. Maybe it's a random text like, "Hey, hope you're doing well." Maybe she accidentally calls you. Maybe she shows up somewhere she knows you'll be. Whatever it is, it won't be random. It's her final attempt to see if you'll return to her on her terms. And here's the most important part. What you do next determines everything. 14. What happens if you react too soon? Most people fail this final test. The moment she reaches out, they get too excited. They instantly respond. They drop everything to give her attention. They let her back into their world without hesitation. And guess what? She immediately feels the power shift back in her favor. Because now she doesn't have to work for you anymore. She knows she has you. She knows she can get your attention whenever she wants. And suddenly that excitement she felt, that longing she had, that burning curiosity, it disappears. Because now you're predictable again. And once you're predictable, you lose the upper hand. But if you handle it the right way, that's when she truly starts chasing you. 15. How to keep the power and make her chase. So how do you respond when she finally reaches out? It's simple. Stay detached. You don't ignore her completely. You don't play childish games, but you also don't act desperate. If she texts you, wait before replying. If she asks how you're doing, keep it brief. If she tries to pull you into a deep conversation, you control the pace. Most importantly, you don't go back to how things used to be. You set the tone. You make her work for your time. You let her prove herself to you. Because now, the roles have reversed. You're no longer the one chasing her validation. She's the one chasing yours. And that's when you've truly won. So now you know exactly what happens when you pull away. But what's next? If you want to keep her hooked on you, make sure you're playing this game the right way. The video you see on the screen right now, that's your next move. Click on it. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one.